This video is going to talk you through editing an existing assignment so that you can change questions if you want. From the teacher home screen, you click on Assignments, and the assignment that we developed for this particular class was 11AP, so I'm going to go down to my files. This is an assignment 11AP, and I'm going to click on this over here, Editing. You have some shortcuts here that if you hover over them, it shows you what each of these are. And we're going to click on the View and Editing assignment, the pencil. We only have 4 questions in this particular quiz, and it really will let you change and modify the assignment a lot, with the exception of the actual text of the question. It will not let you edit anything within the source that might have been used as a stimulus for the question, and it will not let you edit this particular question, changing the wording or changing the answer choices. So aside from that, the formatting options that you have to edit. You can rename the assignment if you want to decide something else. You can add a lesson. You can create an assignment note. You can reclassify this to another course. You can also change, if you don't like the way that you're viewing the answer choices, you can change them to letters if that's something that you like also. In the printing option, there are more options for changing this as well. So you can modify the whole assignment with this part. Questions. You can add more questions. You can also remove questions. You can also reorder the questions. Adding more questions is going to take you right back to that initial screen that we saw before. And maybe you pick a keyword and you say, oh, well, this is the progressives. I want to find something about that. You click exams and assignments, and I want to find something with Teddy Roosevelt. So I type in Roosevelt, and it comes up with pages and pages of questions about Teddy Roosevelt. And I'm just going to add something randomly from this. I'll just add this first question. So that's another way to add questions, but also to add questions from the editing screen. So I'll click Done over in that floating box, and here we are back to our editing screen. You can also remove questions. Are you sure that I want to remove question 1? I can click Yes and get rid of it, or I can click No, I've changed my mind. I can also reorder questions. This question is about Teddy Roosevelt, using a letter from Upton Sinclair to Teddy Roosevelt. And maybe I want this particular question to follow the Teddy Roosevelt question that I just asked, or that I just added. So now question 4 is the purpose for building the Panama Canal. And then I have this additional Teddy Roosevelt question if I want to put them together, so I can rearrange things as I want. The properties give you the same thing that we looked at before. The question properties, what vocabulary is associated with it, what's the hint, what's the reason for the answer, as well as some of the filing for this particular question. The properties can also give you the assignment properties, which shows you a lot of interesting information. And sometimes I do like to look at some of this to find out how difficult I'm making a quiz. If I have this one question is an E level, which is very easy, so maybe I want to get rid of that question. Then I have one question that's at a K level, one that's at an L level. There's also Bloom's taxonomy, Common Core standards. If you have to file your assessments based on Common Core standards, that's helpful to know that for your assignment. And then also we have the question IDs, and these are their links to Common Core standards. So the assignment properties can give you some information that could be helpful, although frankly, I don't look at it that often. Then we have our display and printing. If you want to make a paper test, you can print the assignment. And in the print feature, you can change the font, you can change the size, you can change the spacing, this is where I said you could change the different options on how you want the answer choices to be viewed. Answer key, whether you want an answer key or not. You can leave options like a fill-in space for your answer keys. And then also formatting options. The Regents exam for New York State does have the questions side by side like this. So a lot of times I do like to stack the questions side by side in these columns. And then you can choose printing, print to a PDF, and the PDF you could use for another grading format, or you can also create a student PDF. The header options you have here also, if you click on that, you can change some of those if you want to change the instructions, add some question instructions, change your teacher name, class period, or hide some of these options if you don't want to print them with that. Okay. And then once we're done with printing, we can go back to editing the assignment. You can also display and print your answer key. You can also display and print your answer history. Have I chosen these questions a lot of times? How have my students done? I have chosen some of these questions before, especially questions 1 and 2 I've used a lot. Most students I find are getting these answers correct, not incorrect. So then vocabulary, if you want to generate a vocabulary list based on the assignment that you've created, you can do that. That's why each question has some certain vocabulary associated with it. And you can even tailor this vocabulary list by selecting or deselecting the words that you want. You know, for our assignment, we want to include a definition of who's William Jennings Bryan, the Bull Moose Party, the gold standard, etc. And then you can print this to a PDF and give it to students if they want a vocabulary list for a particular assignment. All definitely time saving for the teacher. So then we are into the most important part of our assignment, is assigning to a student. And at the very bottom of our editing page, you can click on Assign to Students. And I'm not sure why it does this. It always pops up in the assignment results window instead of clicking on that Assign to Students tab where you would select students, or you could go down to the bottom and just click Check All Students. Or perhaps you made a mistake, you can clear all, check all, whatever. These assignment settings, when you assign to a student, do have different modes. Open modes means students can check an answer and then they can go back and change their answer. Quiz format does not allow a student to change an answer once it has been selected. I haven't used the offline, so I'm not really sure of the parameters of that. The availability options, you can have your assignment open always. Students can complete it whenever they wish. From and to, if you're using Castle Learning as an assessment, you can actually keep your mode of quizzing open so that students can change answers if they want to, but you can limit how much access they have to the assignment so that you can make sure that they complete the assignment while they're in the room for you. You can also time the assignment if you want to make sure that they aren't given an excessive amount of time to complete the assignment. You can assign retakes or not, and then your additional options. I almost always choose randomized question order because students are seated next to one another in my classroom and we don't have dividers, we have tables. So to ensure that one student is not looking at the screen of their neighbor, I almost always randomize the question order. Castle Learning is great in terms of reading questions and text-to-speech for students. Even if you add questions yourself, Castle Learning can read the text to the student, even if you enter in themselves. So you can, if you click on this, you disable that option, but you can leave it on, and then students can use that to read the text to have Castle Learning read the question to them. You can auto-lock questions so that students answer them and then they can't change them. You can change the display language. You can have a pop-up calculator. I use this sometimes in economics. You can also track the time spent on the task, although I haven't used that really very much. And then you click Assign, and it's given to the student. And they can log on to Castle Learning and complete their assignment. And that is about it for editing an assignment.